This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road, Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Today, we are going to pick back up where we left off last week in regards to an article that was written in 2001 in regards to the connection made between Donna Lass and the Zodiac Killer. First, I'd like to welcome to the show Harriette Sucher and Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, people.
Good morning. I found an interesting comment on my YouTube posts, which I must have missed at some point in time because it says it was there 11 months ago. I had an interested party who had stated they had just gotten me over 60 subscribers on YouTube. He stated he's followed my research for over 12 years and he's searched for the Kaufman documentary for years, in which case he was glad that I finally posted it and he was excited to watch it. He said he's disappointed that Aphrodite Jones took down the true crime episode regarding the matter. I do know that used to be up. You used to be able to find the Aphrodite Jones episode that she did with Dennis Kaufman. I think that she went to cable or like HBO or something like that. So she pulled all of the videos down that were accessible by the public for free. And now you actually have to have some type of a subscription to whatever channel it is that those are playing on. But I do actually have that video in hand. So I was able to play a little bit of it with some permission at one point in time, but I don't think that I can actually produce the entire thing for people to see, which is kind of a shame. But I do have it. If somebody wants it, I could definitely make some copies and send it their direction. All right, you guys, how did your week go? What's that?
Oh, I was talking on the podcast. Sorry. I lost my copy. I'm going to need another one.
Okay. Yeah. I do need to make some copies of that for sure. All right. Well, we left off last week, like I said, with this article from the newspaper. It was Thursday, November 16th, 2000. The Sacramento Bee actually produced it. And I believe we had just finished up the first. I'm just going to start it all over again. So by Gregory Crofton, Tahoe Daily Tribune, South Lake Tahoe. Her bathroom light was left on and there were no signs of a struggle. Piles of clothes lay neatly folded in her new apartment, but 25-year-old Donna Lass never came home to put them away. Lass disappeared in 1970 while working a late night shift at a State Line casino nursing station. 30 years later, little progress has been made in solving the mystery, but South Shore detectives have been investigating Lass's case since August, thinking she might have been a victim of a serial killer who called himself the Zodiac. Interesting that they say State Line. They call it State Line, and you're coming up in your solves with the word State Line, right, Harriette?
Over and over and over again. If I had a dime for each time I got ES for East State Line or East State Line spelled out, yes, quite a few times. So that verifies, so much information from the past.
Right? So they go on to say the killer sent dozens of letters to several California newspapers that began with the words, "This is the Zodiac speaking." They also were filled with astrological coded messages and threats written in a capital letter English. In the letters, the Zodiac took credit for 5 murders, 2 attempted murders, and a kidnapping, all in California in 1969 and 1970. I'm not sure why they stopped short. Obviously, this is in 2000, but why they stopped short of that he only claimed 5 murders and 2 attempted with a kidnapping, when the letters that continue on clearly state additional numbers of attempted murders or murders, correct?
Yes. I think that they were doing this. I think this is right the time period where Jack Torrance is the number 1 suspect all of a sudden.
Right.
This is
yeah. 2000.
Coming right out of South Lake Tahoe, Dennis, where he lived. And so I think that that's how this was timed. This is my opinion.
Yeah. The 2000 era is when Dennis was actively attempting to pursue Jack as a suspect with law enforcement agencies. So it is definitely that time frame. It says in the letters, the self-proclaimed murderer made phone calls too. On September 27th, 1969, a man was audacious enough to call the Napa Police Department around 7 p.m. and claim that 45 minutes earlier, he had stabbed 2 people to death. 1 victim survived. But did this terrifying murderer ever come to South Lake Tahoe? Since August, South Lake Tahoe Police Detective Tom Connor, which we discussed last week, is the law enforcement officer that we heard from out of South Lake Tahoe on the audio files that I played that Dennis had recorded between him and law enforcement. And Tom Connor seemed to be one of the biggest advocates of looking at Jack, aside obviously from Chris Hopkins of the FBI, but he was definitely moving forward on Jack as a possible suspect and that connection between Zodiac and Donna Lass. South Lake Tahoe Police Detective Tom Connor has been reviewing a report compiled by Harvey Hines, a 66-year-old investigator from Groveland who claims Donna Lass was kidnapped and murdered by the Zodiac. Hines, a retired policeman who has been investigating the case since 1973, became interested in the South Shore area after the Zodiac sent a postcard to media stating that he had claimed his 12th victim in the Tahoe area. He soon found 2 supplemental South Lake Tahoe police reports filed in March 25th, 1970, that piqued his interest. In the reports, a woman claimed she had met a strange man at the International House of Pancakes on U.S. Highway 50 who wanted to read her astrological chart. Later that day, the man came to her house to read the chart he had prepared. He eventually left her house without incident, but the description she gave police is similar to that given by others who encountered the Zodiac. I don't know that Jack did any astrological readings. I'm pretty sure he had a book about astrology, I think, in his belongings, but I don't know that he was actively, or I've never heard Dennis say that he actively attempted to do them, right?
No, I don't think so. But, that somehow conjures up the image of Sandy Betts' story. I don't know. I mean, it would be interesting. We can get her on the show, too, sometime to get her viewpoints.
But I have had her once on the show, and I would like to have her back, but I was waiting more along the lines of the era when she started receiving some of this stuff that she believes is from the Zodiac.
Well,
all right. So
I believe her, actually. I think she's lucky to be alive. So
right. By 1970, hold on. By 1976, Hines identified a man he believed is the serial killer, a person who is still alive. I was doing this on my own, Hines said. Why didn't the other agencies take it and run? Because they had all their own suspects. There was so much departmental jealousy, it was thick enough to cut with a knife. In late August, as part of a 30-year memorial push by the Lass family to solve the case, the investigator presented an 80-page report to South Shore law enforcement agencies. Connor took an interest in the case, as did a Douglas County investigator, and together they began working on it. Connor has gone over Hines' report 4 times, but has found holes in it that he said he needs to review with the investigator. The report aside, last week, Connor collected a blood sample from Lass's older sister, Mary Pilker, 66, and ran a check on Lass's social security card and nursing license. The blood sample was taken with hopes of finding a genetic match through the database maintained by the Department of Justice. There is the possibility that her remains have already been found and entered into the data bank. Connor said. If we get a match, at least we'll know where she was found. Hopefully that would be some kind of closure for the family. Connor also received from the FBI a psychological profile of the Zodiac that he plans to study. While the work being done by Connor is appreciated, family members said they are not satisfied with the investigations. I haven't heard from anyone, Mary Pilker said. It is quite a disappointment. Connor seems to be doing as much as he can, and he seems to be doing it all on his own time. Mary's son, Don, said most frustrating to him is that two women are alive who he thinks can identify the Zodiac, but who have not been interviewed by law enforcement. One woman, Kathleen Johns, says she was a victim of the Zodiac on March 22nd, 1970. Johns told police she and her infant daughter escaped his grasp when they jumped from his car and ran into a field near Patterson, California. When she got to the Patterson police station, Johns saw a sketch of the killer on the wall and yelled, "That's him." Years later, Hines showed a number of photos to Johns. The man she picked out immediately as her abductor is the same man Hines suspected for the past 24 years to be the Zodiac Killer. Now, I have no information as to who that individual is and what information Hines has or what pictures were actually shown to Kathleen Johns, which also begs the reason why the FBI would want to show Johns Jack's picture if Johns has already made an identification of someone else, if that person was not Jack. So I'm a little confused.
Mm-hmm. Does this say that they think they found her Social Security card?
It states that they ran her Social Security number, and I don't know what the purpose of that would have been.
Well, when we get to some future solves, Jack is talking about that Social Security card. So,
really?
Yeah. So anyways, we'll get to that at one point, but I was like, okay, because he's talking about something in that order.
Right.
Okay.
Well, there was definitely more interesting information that I thought I would find in that particular article, even though I kept it for obvious purposes. They're making that connection between Zodiac and Donna Lass. But I'm pretty sure that Zodiac made that connection himself when he submitted that letter, that particular postcard in regards to the 12th victim, and that it was validated or verified that that was the writing of the Zodiac Killer. So we should take that serious for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Another interesting piece of information is the reward flyer that went out. Now, when somebody puts out a reward flyer, that clearly is not being put out by the murderer himself. I would suspect that this was done by the family. It says, family and investigators have made great progress in this case. We are confident that her abductor murderer will be arrested, tried, and found guilty. If you have further information that can help us finalize our investigation that will locate Donna and or result in a successful prosecution, please contact the South Lake Tahoe Police Department. So obviously this reward poster was made by somebody either at the police department or Donna Lass's family. Is that your assumption?
Somebody knew the system. Somebody who knew the code system. Okay.
So I got a little confused because then we're going to look at the solve that Swearingen has made in regards to this particular reward letter, and he actually made the Hunt for the Zodiac documentary where they used that solve and followed it to the location that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But this wasn't written by the Zodiac. So why is it that he believes he can solve it using Zodiac methods? Or why does he believe it yields a message that the Zodiac would tell you where he or Donna Lass was when this was clearly not written by the Zodiac? Does that make any sense to you?
Well, it actually, in my view, it kind of does, because it means that this is a part of a bigger and system of people that seem to know. I'm wondering how many people actually did know this code system, because I'm seeing it. It's Jack is saying this is CIA. It goes back to 1782. So, that's probably more as to why they wanted to just see what it's going to say, by literally, let's see if this sticks to the wall. Let's try this. Let's see what it's going to say. And
well, then should we then, I mean, obviously he is, let's go to his solve. So This is where he claims that the solve has led him. So he's saying that that the code itself is saying start at a casino, proceed to the west, arrive at a fork in the road shaped like this, proceed in a relatively northwest direction until you arrive at an intersection and make a 90-degree turn. Turn right, proceeding via a negative 120 degrees traveling westward when you come to the intersection of roads. Then stay on the main road and turn south 90 degrees until you reach a major intersection, pictorially indicated by the N in the code. N also indicates north. Once at the north intersection, proceed north for 27 miles until you reach another intersection. The two triangles for the letter M, which stands for miles, when you arrive at that next intersection, quit. That is stop at the light, wait until it turns green. How he gets this from this, I'm not sure, but make a negative 45-degree turn, turn left, head westward. The road will gradually curve into a 120 angle going north. Proceed to the next major intersection where you will make a 90 left turn and head west. Get off the highway and then make two back-to-back 90-degree turns. That is, turn right and then turn right again. Then stop the car. The victim is buried in this area. So this is where my confusion comes in. He is making it sound as though he has solved this to state where Donna Lass's body is found, when this is a flyer saying, please help us find her.
Okay. See?
I can't hear you, Nolan. We can't hear you, Nolan. Can you hear us?
Try it again.
I don't know. He's plugged in that headset again, and we can't hear him when he does that.
Take the headset off. Take it off. I think he's got it. Let's see what we're going to have. We love you. Now we can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you when you plug that headset in. The system's not picking that headset up for some reason.
Okay. My question is, how do we know that the South Lake Tahoe police produced the flyer?
We don't. Like I said, it could have been the police and it could have been the family. They're offering a $10,000 reward, and I don't know.
Zodiac.
What's that?
Zodiac himself could have done it, or Jack could have done it. We don't know.
I think it's because, like we're seeing from what I keep seeing, it has to do with CAA. So,
what's that?
And this was done. This is already drawing a connection between Zodiac and Donna Lass, when at that time in 1970, nobody was drawing that connection.
Right. Yeah. Right? So this had to have been at some point. Again, I don't know the source. I don't know when this was actually produced. It just reads as though it's a reward, and they're attempting to speak to the Zodiac in some type of code, which then Swearingen has deciphered or solved to say that the remains would be found in a location, which, like I said, that documentary, The Hunt for the Zodiac, which was on, I believe, Amazon Prime, they even literally went to this area, brought out cadaver dogs, brought out other imaging equipment. They did locate something. They didn't say what that was, but they did not indicate that they found Donna Lass's remains. But what provokes someone to take the time and energy and the means to research or follow that particular lead to a location if this particular flyer was done by the police or the family? It's not perceived by me, at least at this point, that this was done by the Zodiac.
I think.
How did you come about getting this flyer?
Probably something on the internet.
Okay.
Now, Tom Boyd is the one who if I remember correctly, is the one who first put this in the system. And he blamed me for misinformation, but that's where I remember seeing it. Dennis thought he saw it there too. And then he's like, oh my God, this is South Lake Tahoe. And that looks like Jack.
Yeah. It also looks like the Zodiac composite. And there's a side.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So basically it's making the connection that Zodiac is a suspect as of 1970 or whenever it was produced. I guess she's been missing since that date, but we don't know the production date of it.
No.
Okay.
No, we don't.
All right. It's highly interesting.
Right. So what makes a person flip it, even if they just found this on the internet and we had no idea when it came, what would make somebody flip it to turn it into a message where it's supposed to be perceived that the Zodiac has written this and given clues as to where he or Donna Lass could be found? The other thought was, if this solve is correct, then the Zodiac would be able to cipher this. And maybe that was a meeting point that they were asking the Zodiac to meet them at. That was my other thought. Not where Donna Lass was, but where they wanted to meet the Zodiac.
Or maybe it was Jack feeling guilty after the fact and putting out clues.
I wouldn't doubt it. But I feel like he puts his clues out well enough in the crimes themselves. And I don't know that there was actually any letters written to any law enforcement in South Lake Tahoe, which kind of, I think, confirms his nastiness or his willingness to communicate through the Hearst corporations. So even though he killed in South Lake Tahoe, he didn't write to them. He killed in Sacramento. He wrote the Sacramento Bee. He killed in San Francisco. He wrote the Hearst newspapers. So why he would then continue to write the Bay Area instead of the location where he was at and currently killing almost lends to what Harriette has been finding in her solves, is that these communications were clearly meant to go through the Hearst Corporation, if not directly to Hearst himself.
What I find curious as well is that the poster has a specific date and time of the disappearance. When people disappear, nobody really knows the exact time they disappear because they've disappeared. It's just a guess. So it was the specific time. So only the perpetrator would know the specific time.
Well, and I think that, say, missing since 1:30 a.m., I think that was the last time she was seen, was 1:30 a.m.
Okay. Yeah. But,
yeah.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
But that's
so
ambiguous.
Nobody knows what happened. Yeah. Afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, and this is a little bit more of his description, and he's giving you the path to where he or they ended up, actually. He also attributes the sought victim 12 Sierra Club card to that, as though peeking through the pines in past the Lake Tahoe areas, he's given this specific spot, and this is where they went to in that documentary. So again, they're there searching for a body, as if to presume that this poster was written by the Zodiac and not by the family or law enforcement. So I wonder what the means were for that, or this was just hype that they were trying to put forth in regards to making it entertainable on the show. Like they're really searching for something that doesn't make any sense to me, that they're searching where they're searching, or that they're searching it based off a solve for a poster that didn't appear to be written by the Zodiac. So he also found other things in here, like latitude and longitude numbers. He came up with some other messages. I killed Donna. She sleeps on. Okay, quit. He claims that there's a pictorial view of Donna's face found within those symbols. I've killed Donna Lass is in 10 feet deep. Icy, icy snow, quit. And he's doing this now by actually turning those symbols in different directions to obtain these messages. Page 7, stop now. Zodiac too quick, wins. Wow. And then pictorial view of Zodiac's face. All of this stuff runs in tandem with what we already know. So it's easy for him to put forth that information, and it makes sense to us. But that tells me that these solves can be done in a million different ways. And you could come up with a million different messages, all that might link to the Zodiac in one way, shape, or form.
That'll take you all the way down to through the rabbit hole. But yeah. I got the book because I wanted to see some of our work in somebody else's book. But I just wanted to say real quick, he's not too far off as to how he thought that he was going to find her buried there. I'm pretty sure. But I'm seeing through future solves, the body was moved. So I think he would have been right. Then I tweaked it up a little bit. We went to the roundabout, but I got solves where Jack is saying the body was moved again.
Right.
So he's quite kind of right, but they were hoping to find her. They found something though.
Well, he had two more messages, it looks like here. One that says now postscript was not a fake, was Zodiac, proof quality. And then symbols for winking, he says. And then page 9, a hidden page, original symbols are reversed, flipped with no rotation. And that came out to use stoled info packed with Donna Lass, do ask, question, and a question mark symbol. Why? That I related, I guess, to there was information. A few articles of Donna Lass's belongings were found in a shallow grave, but no body. Do you know where they found that stuff at, Harriette?
It's in this. It's in the book. I don't want to talk too much about the book, but it's a certain particular location. It's where we walked to though when we went up there in 2018, and that's
that other route. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right.
And I wanted to say something else. He's got it as where he's thinking those 4 W's are W or Y. That's also in 1997. That is World Worm Wide Web or something like that. World Wide Web Worm. And there was a certain type of way of getting into, if you had a computer then, to get into all kinds of systems. Stolen info system, World Wide Web Worm. Jack was very much with, Hewlett Packard. And, so I think it's more modern than we think. And I think Jack is trying to say something in 1997. So it's really strange. Okay. But anyways, it is what it is.
Well, that brings us to an actual Zodiac communication, which is the 13th victim card. This card is much like the Black Dahlia cutouts and the Donna Lass card cutouts to create his masterpiece. Difference here is that we see the use of a key punch, a hole punch, which one of our victims will be a key punch operator. I want to say that we had one of them from Texas and California. I have to go back and figure out which one was the key punch operator, unless you remember that, Harriette.
Oh God, offhand, no.
And obviously, here's the thing, they actually attribute this to a Zodiac correspondence, even though there's no handwriting on it. So pasted cutouts and all of the stuff that you're seeing here, which has been already employed in many other crimes, is being attributed as a known source in the FBI FOIA files. And it does state, it doesn't look like they attempted to process any DNA or fingerprints on it, because that spot is empty where it should say envelope or processed for DNA. It doesn't show anything for that.
Processed for DNA, because if I remember correctly, and I have some old newspapers, but I don't. Anyways, the cross, the upside down cross, which is the Petrine cross, I believe that was supposed to be done in blood, in human blood.
I have information on that, and it wasn't. I'll get to that. At least what the information is saying to us. So this postcard was sent to San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco. It was the moon landing or the Apollo mission stamp was used on this. And it says Monday, October 5th, 1970. Dear editor, you'll hate me, but I've got to tell you. Some of them fought. It was horrible. The pace isn't any slower. In fact, it's just one big 13th. I don't understand the words. Again, he's always saying something that doesn't quite make that much sense. It is signed the Zodiac. It has the Zodiac symbol in it. It has an upside down cross. When you flip the card upside down, when you flip that card upside down, it says, P.S. There are reports city police pig cops are closing in on me. I want to say that says "fuck." I'm crack proof, but it's just FK. Okay,
it is. That's what he's saying. That's the rare time that I've only maybe 5 times he actually swears. So he's swearing.
So he says, "Fuck, I'm crack proof. What is the price tag now?" Of course, these are all things that we see later in those 1974 letters where everybody was trying to say that they were hoaxes or they were forgeries or copycats and not done by the Zodiac. But he actually says all of these words in that letter, like, you can't catch me. I'm crack proof. What's the price tag? You know, all of these are themes that we see continuing in those communications. So this is what I found in the FOIA files. It says the enclosure in this matter were furnished by Inspector somebody, Homicide Detail, San Francisco Police Department on 10/13/70. The inspector advised that the cross under numeral 13 was made of a thin paper which was pasted onto the postcard, as was the other printing, and that the color of the cross was red. So does that make sense to you?
I heard that was in blood, and then somebody, I think later on, says that it was some kind of theatrical type of blood. I don't know.
This is back in 1970 from the FOIA files, where and this is what was reported, obviously, to the FBI, because clearly, if they had it in their hands, they would have stated.
All I know is I'm laughing thinking about what I now know about Toshi. But if this is Armstrong, go for it. Yeah.
What's
that page is a portion of a police report. Do we know which police? Is that the San Francisco police report? Or where did that come from?
This is an airtel to the FBI. So this is to the director of the FBI. Attention, FBI laboratory.
FBI
Subject, Zodiac. San Francisco airtel to Sacramento. So this is from Sacramento to, because it was mailed, the card was mailed to the San Francisco Examiner, right?
Excuse me.
San Francisco Chronicle, sorry. So and then that information is being furnished to the FBI. And this was found in the FBI FOIA files on the Zodiac case. So they are reporting on October 13th of 1970 that cross was made out of a thin paper, which was red. So it's not blood. It's not theatrical blood. It's not blood at all. It's a thin piece of red paper that was cut to
red
form
paper.
That. Yeah. I thought that
red
was interesting.
Phantom. Anyways.
Yeah. Red Phantom. Exactly. Red lipstick, lipstick killer, all of the above. Red.
Am I going to find, if I dig deeper, am I going to find him still trying to look at that point for that damn red, carmine red 2-cent stamp? Anyways, that's what I keep thinking of every time I see red now. Okay.
So this is my take on the card as I went through it linguistically. He claims 13 victims with 13 hole punches. You'll hate me, but I've got to tell you. So this is a phrasing comparison that I've done at the end of this presentation. I've put together all the different phrases used in these communications and how they link to each other. The upside down Christian cross, red in color and the only color cutout. I found that to relate to the wolf's head, inverted Ankh cross, and Tim Miller upside down Christian cross. Zodiac symbol equals Edward Adams cutout postcard and the Tim Miller cutout letter 2005, along with Black Dahlia and many other cutouts that were used. There are reports that city police pig cops are closing in on me, and the Zodiac is crack proof. FK for the expletive. Fuck. We see this in the ciphers from Lauren Swearingen. So the first time I had seen any cussing is when I saw the solves by Swearingen, and I was a little shocked to see that his solves included cuss words. But now going back and seeing this 13th victim card, it makes a little more sense.
Yeah, he's got something to say about Hoffa about that time period. F you, Jimmy Hoffa, you're gonna die 75, something like that. So
gotcha. Well, speaking about what is the price tag now, he's often asked what is the price tag on his head. The pace isn't any slower. This is extremely consistent with Black Dahlia's letters, in which case he would say, go slow, go fast. We even seen that as early as the lipstick killings. In fact, the 340 cipher by Lauren is just, or using the word in fact, is actually something that was solved in the 340 cipher by Lauren as well, which gave another confirmation that he was on the right path. It's just one big 13th. Some of them thought it was horrible, did not put up a struggle, which that is something he stated in the Sherry Joe Bates confession letter. Key punch holes linked to key punch operators in hospitals, which equals nurses. I think you and I discussed that, right? That the key punch operators work both in hospitals as well.
Well, if I'm trying to remember, but wasn't the suspicion of Gidley, Patricia Gidley, wasn't she suspected to be a key punch operator? Or I'm trying to remember. It's one of the alleged Zodiac victims, which yes, there was a key punch operator. I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. I think we just haven't gotten to her yet, but we will. So the Apollo moon postage stamp, Zodiac astrologic watch monopolizing on moon landings. Halloween card shares this stamp. So this is probably why they attributed it to the Zodiac, because the Halloween card was also attributed. San Francisco Chronicle, taken from newspaper headline. And the rest of the postcard was taken from newspaper articles. Which articles as this could be a clue, just like D.B. Cooper and the Playboy letter. So yes, determining where these cutouts were taken from might also lead to where the Zodiac was when he was using those particular newspapers. Might even be the location he was at. And that brings us to your solve in regards to this. So I'm going to let you take over here. This is the envelope to that particular card, yes. Correct?
No, this is the top part is a different portion, but the 13th victim cards at the bottom. That I did a lot of work on that. The card is a Z. I found it was a Z408 grill cipher combined with anagramming and the meaning of the Earthrise stamp. I mean, that was when I was starting to really dig deep about the meanings of these stamps and how to find it, the date of the postmark. Anyways, it says where it was printed, as seen in the work I did. That's what I'm reading from my own book.
Right.
And it says, at that point when I did this and posted this on my blog, February 11, 2021, I said that I haven't tried adding more an abbreviation to find more details. So that's what this is saying here. But then there are two messages that do link together that are meant for Robert Graysmith. So
that was one of my questions. You now believe that he was conversing with Robert Graysmith as well.
Robert Graysmith was one of the editors at the Chronicle. They must have had a million of them, but he was the cartoonist, but he was also said to be one of the editors. But the main editor, I now know, was Poe. Charles D. Thoreau.
Okay, well, that brings us to the actual solve itself, if you want to go forward with that.
Yeah, let's read it from my book, because I was so happy to send this to you. The things I found out, you see about the Westwood Inn, he's bringing about the Lessels. Those are wonderful people, okay, but we'll get to that in a second. Anyways, it says, for the offers of the card, the grill cipher connects with the I in Frisco. Then the whole punches fit over the rows in the Z408 102, lines 2 through 11. And of course, it says, as seen in the picture above. And then it says the Earthright stamp, which in quote, as seen in the picture, there's an E and an H, an A, a I, a S, a M, G, E, ROUS, animal of, and then TKSOBLE. Anyways, that fits into the anagram. Then the Earthrise stamp, and then I'm saying, which I just added today, the details of the stamp and the decode. In the beginning, God. Then the Apollo 8 cents, United States, PM, which should be post meridian, but anyways, 5 October or Oct 1970. Then it says the cookie. Am I having problems?
What's
is
that?
it my video or audio?
No.
Oh, okay.
Keep going.
Anyway, so let's keep going. It says the code keywords I found are six bullets, and I knew the direction where this is going. He's going to kill Sam Giancana with 6 bullets in the mouth. So, anyways, it says the Bible message I made was dog Giancana ate 6 bullets or to eat 6 bullets. So for round shape, Wisconsin, this nincompoop got to eat die Wessel's restaurant of Inkster, which is Inkster, Michigan, located in North Michigan Avenue, circa 1975. But then it says, when I add Texas, it reads Robert Graysmith, Wisconsin nincompoop Hoffa, guest of Wessel's restaurant, North Michigan Avenue, Inkster, Michigan, USA, to die next, be up with late RN Donna, location of the grave after dog Giancana to eat 6 bullets, 1975. Then it links to another message. So, and then the Irishman is to kill International Teamsters Union General Manager, Public Information Officer. The overgrown Hoffa Sr. gets to die at Wessel Restaurant, Michigan Avenue, Inkster, Michigan, by Bloody G. Glock. They just started making or doing something with the G. Glock, but they also had a knife, the Glock. I had to verify if this was true. There was either some work being done on that kind of a knife or weapon. So, anyways, but I was in the process of trying to decode this. I was seeing, is there somebody named Lessel's, and so on. I ended up buying a menu from the Lessel's restaurant and reading.
Which book is this in?
This is in America's Most Evil.
And when did you do this solve?
I did the majority of the solve. I think it was in 2020, but I was adding more as I went along, and then 2021 I was adding more details because it was quite laborious. I ended up
obviously before the movie The Irishman, right?
Oh, definitely.
Way before.
So
yeah.
So I'm astonished that she's got solves that discuss this, and then we watched the movie The Irishman, where what was his name again?
Frank
Sheeran.
Oh, Frank Sheeran is the Irishman.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. So that they are, or at least Frank Sheeran is attempting to take credit for having killed Hoffa, which is obviously based off the movie The Irishman, and you came up with this information well before that movie was out. So it always astonishes me.
67, 68 even.
What's that?
I got it as early as 67, 68, especially by 1969, that there was a long drawn out plan to bring down Hoffa and Giancana. And one of the key players was Frank Sheeran, who was not supposed to become friendly with Hoffa. And by 1975,
wasn't he the next in line to take over the Teamsters? Sheeran?
No, Hoffa. No,
I think he ran a union, right?
Yeah, in Delaware, near, and that's where our current president has a past of giving some breaks to Teamsters related people through Frank Sheeran in circa 1973. So it doesn't look good, but it is what it is. Where there were the Teamsters Union, you had some mobsters, and they were just trying to keep their people happy. So.
Well, just another confirmation. It just always shocks me when you come up with something that we didn't know at the time, and now we are getting information that supports what you've already solved. It always blows my mind.
Yeah, try being the code breaker. I'm like, wow, okay, I recognize the name The Irishman. So,
right? So moving on with some of Jack's information, Jack actually attended a California trade school, though I've not been able to actually locate where this trade school was. He did this trade school in radio and in television, which again leads me right on back to D.B. Cooper, because one of the cutout pages that he used the information from was an ad in regards to TVs and radio. So I thought that was interesting that this is merely 1 year before this Cooper caper happens. Jack is actively taking a radio and television class. But it puts him still in California in 1970, which is just what I had already figured. And it's right up Zodiac's alley because we see a lot of references to radio and television, movies, books, things of that nature. Mm-hmm. And then that brings us to the postcard to Dr. Edward C. Adams. This one was dated Monday, October 12th, 1970, and postmarked 10/17/70. So looks like it sat around for a few days before it was actually mailed out, but it was sent to Dr. Edward C. Adams. And I know everybody has heard about him already because we had a letter from somebody who was part of the mob, was familiar with CIA tactics, had worked for both, and was looking to get help from Mr. Adams, but that handwriting was not a match to the Zodiac letters. And albeit they did ask this individual to also form Belltop A's, which I, again, could not reconcile with the information that we're being shown about the letters, where there aren't any Belltop A's, to why they would be asking somebody to purposely write Belltop A's. That tells me that we might not be seeing the true images of these letters, and that things have been altered for the purpose of this never being figured out. The other side of it is that Dr. Edward Adams seems to be getting hit up by lots of people who are in the mob and CIA. If he's gotten one letter from some guy asking for help, and he says he's family, but not blood related. So is he referring to the family again, like we saw on the Netflix documentary in regards to these individuals? Who knows? Either way, he sent this out to Mr. Adams, and it says, Edward Adams, the Zodiac is going to change the way of committing murders. I shall announce when I shall come. Oh, this is horrible to try and read. Shall commit my murders. The Adamses are next. You taught me to mean it. Adams, you are next. Zodiac. So now he's getting a direct threat from the Zodiac. So I'm not finding that so coincidental. But didn't you give me some information in regards to who Mr. Adams was?
I found as I was solving this, trying to understand why would he do this, that he was a psychiatrist out of that part of Contra Costa County where Joe DiMaggio lived. And in 1962, he had reconciled with his wife. And I'm seeing in a solve that I got that he is one of the killers of Marilyn Monroe, that he went to her place down in Brentwood.
Wow.
With Yves Montand. And I have it in one of the books. So that would be anagrammable, but I wanted to make sure that that was positive, that he would be located in the same area where Joe DiMaggio was living at the time when they reconciled.
So, well, that's about all we have. Go ahead.
Do we know anything further about Adams, like any affiliations with FBI or CIA or anything like that?
I do not. And we're pretty much out of time, so we can pick this up next week and continue on with it.
Very good.
Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Book to get. Look at how big it is. It's got so much in there. But yeah, it brings up about Sheeran, everybody.
I have to go, Harriette. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Take care.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Oh,